Hi, my name is Shelby Bradley, and I did my major applied research project on 3D printing in education. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about what it is, some of the benefits and challenges, and I'm going to share some examples of how it's being used in classrooms today. So 3D printing is when a physical object is created using a digital model. This process is also known as additive manufacturing because the material is applied in layers over time, as opposed to with traditional manufacturing where material is removed from a source, for example, a block in CNC machining. So the digital image is really important to the process, and it can be created in a couple different ways. We have first, CAD, or computer-aided design software applications, and we're finding that as technology advances, these programs are becoming more affordable and more user-friendly. There are 3D scanners. This process is still pretty complex, so if you were going to use this, you would definitely need some specialized training. Or there are collaborative online sites where people can share their own projects or upload templates that can be edited for personal use. So once your image is chosen and your specifications are set, the material is fed into the printer, and as the material comes out, it's melted and placed in layers on top of the build plate. So most often, the 3D prints you see are made using plastic filaments, but there are tons of different materials. Probably the second most common is metal, and one of the advantages of using metal is that the finished product is more industrial strength. A lot of prototypes you see would be made out of metal. There's also graphite or graphene, which is a form of carbon, and it's stronger than plastic, and it conducts electricity better than alternatives, but it's still light, so it makes the printing process easier and faster. There's pretty amazing projects where people are printing actual edible food, pieces of human organ, engine parts, and even buildings using 3D printing. This really short clip is just a little time lapse to show some perspective on what the printing process actually looks like. Watch a second or two of that. So depending on what the object is that's being printed, the complexity, it can take less or more time. Typically the prints take between 1 hour to a more complex print would take about 48 hours. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the benefits and challenges as it relates to education. So with 3D printing, there's minimal waste of the material, and with so much design flexibility, students can really just take the lead and explore the process without being afraid of wasting time or money. Low-cost machines and user-friendly software are just making it easier to get these products into schools. Being able to program using smart devices, again, just increases access. More students with varying ages and abilities can try this. Using hands-on trial and error, as students are problem solving, if their original design prints and they see a big problem, they have to go back and fix it. The STEM engagement, obviously these processes are really focused on math and science. And overall, doing 3D printing is really aligning with the movement of more active learning. So 3D printing and benefits in special education specifically. So with 3D printing, students now have accessible materials at the same time as they are navigating content. Whereas in the past, students would have to try to figure out the materials before they could even delve into the actual content. 3D printing provides or allows for full inclusion. We know that all students, general ed or special ed, benefit from added visuals and learning aids like tactile models. Students must problem solve and work collaboratively. This is a skill that we know students benefit from, yet students in special education are not always exposed to these types of programs. So allowing for them to work with both typical peers and their special ed peers is just really beneficial. Creating aids for visually impaired and tactile learners. Obviously, a student who has visual impairment, who's never been able to feel an object that they're learning about, isn't really understanding the full concept. So being able to provide that extra step is just crucial to their understanding. And a major part is customizable assistive technology. So with a lot of assistive technology, it's trial and error. And as students outgrow or it's just not the right fit, when you're going through insurance and waiting on school districts, these things can take a really long time and cost a lot of money. But with 3D printing, if you can customize a device for a student and print it in a day or less, there's a lot more room to kind of figure out what that student needs exactly. Oops. So this is a short video that just really captures the customized collaborative opportunities of 3D printing.
I know that it's not just darkness. They're putting together these visuals in their head that's completely... I know that it's not just darkness. They're putting together these visuals in their head that's completely unique to them. I could only imagine. Someone told me about an opening for a one-to-one aid for a blind student. His biggest need was technology, and I knew that if I was really going to help him, that I would have to dive in. What can we make that can help this kid gain access or make this kid's life way easier, or help him accomplish a goal? The more I learned, the more excited I got. Working with a preschooler named Royce, his goal was to write his name. His issue was he would start writing and then keep on going. He would go way past the paper. So he made a template of his name. So he's able to trace his name, get that muscle memory going without really having to think about it, and then right underneath that template are boxes where he can freehand his name. I could not believe how clearly and legibly he wrote his name. It was amazing.
I'm so excited.
You nailed it, buddy.
Yeah, I did it.
The 3D printing has helped immensely. Once you've completed a file, you can use it over and over and over again. Whether the student is sighted or blind, they can be side by side and learn the same content. That's the ultimate goal in all this, to be completely inclusive.
So some of the challenges are, in regards to expectations, there's a lot of 3D models we see that are just truly incredible, but it's not always understood that those are really highly complex models. The build quality, obviously layers of plastic are not as strong as traditionally manufactured products. Price, even though it's becoming more affordable, there is still a high cost associated with 3D printing, whether that's the actual printer itself or software or the training required to learn the software. The speed of the design of the model could be an issue, and usability. This design software, it is a specialized skill, so it does require regular training. So now I'm going to share some examples of 3D printing in education. So some of these, this is actually the same teacher that that video was on. He created a way for a student with only the use of one finger to hold various writing utensils. He created a device to help a student who was losing her vision learn Braille. The article said she was really reluctant and it was kind of a scary process, but being able to create this customized device, she was able to kind of incorporate several of her skills and learn Braille. And the last picture here is a mechanism to attach a walking cane to the shopping cart for visually impaired. So you can just see how these things are applying to in the classroom and to real life situations. So these are really neat because these are some examples of student projects. This one here was a 10-year-old student who decided that he wanted to stand for his different marbles. So he designed the different heights and the specific diameters of the marbles to create this stand. And this one down here is some students in Brooklyn were working on a gentrification project, and they designed and printed buildings. So it's pretty incredible to see students working together. It doesn't matter what the problem they're trying to solve is. Using these skills, they can literally, the possibilities are endless. So using the software is a really important part of the process I kind of talked about. So I'm going to look a little bit at some of the products that are out there. So this is just to kind of give you an idea of the price range. We've got a mini printer here for $159, or there's the MakerBot for $6,500. So depending on what your budget is, these things really are accessible. This is I wanted to give you a little bit of an example of using Tinkercad, which is a popular software design program. So I'm going to play that for you.
So Tinkercad is a free 3D design application where you can create your own graphic images. So once you've logged in, you can either get started right away, or it's intended to be pretty user-friendly, so they've included some step-by-step tutorials. So you can go over here to lessons. For example, this one is on the camera controls. So you can check this out. So it kind of talks you through step-by-step how to move your mouse so that you can see the image from a different perspective. So once you feel good about that, you can go back and start your new project. One more time. So you can go here to create new design. So if you come over to the drop-down menu over here, we've got lots of options for basic shapes, symbols, text. For this purpose, I want to make this little guy. So I'm going to start with this egg shape. You just kind of drag it onto your work plane, and then from here you can edit shape, size, width, angle. So we want to kind of move him a little bit. You can move it up or down on the work plane, which is helpful if you were going to add, say, some chicken feet. So you just drag the object over, place it down first, and then you can adjust the placement and the angle. And then once we've got it on here, we can adjust our perspective. So we can see it needs to be adjusted a little bit more. And then just to finish it off, we're going to add a bunny ear or two over here. Add the ears. By pushing this arrow, you can move it up on the plane. So that way we can create our big guy here. And then once we made him, if we wanted to, say, change the color of the ear, we'd come over here, pick any color you want, pop pink. You can create this. So yeah, it's a really neat program, free, easy to use. Once you've created your image, you can import, export, share. So it's a really neat program, lots of options.
So to just kind of wrap it up, I just wanted to touch on some of the main takeaways that I've found. I just can see how 3D printing is combining so many aspects of education that we are finding time and again to be successful and relevant to students. Number one, this is really interesting. It's fun, and students can use these tools to create models of characters they're interested in, or really use their imagination. The STEM focus is really relevant. Students are problem solving not just within the programming, where they are creating their model and then printing and seeing if anything needs to be adjusted, but they're able to look around in their own communities and find problems that need to be solved. And they can really, because of the low cost and the flexibility, children can take it upon themselves to fix these problems. The collaborative aspect of it is just really powerful, because there's all of these social media platforms that people can connect together and kind of share ideas and share problems. Students are working with teachers and with peers to accomplish these things that we've seen examples of here. One thing that I really love is how inclusive the process is. As these programs are becoming more user-friendly, we're seeing that students with special needs are being involved and being included. Not only are they benefiting from the actual final product, but the process is where they're actually getting involved and being able to learn hands-on like their peers, where a lot of times students with special needs aren't included in these types of programs. I think it's really great job training for students both with disabilities and without. As we continue to advance technology, 3D printing is just going to become more and more critical to our everyday living. So students who have this experience starting from such a young age are going to be set up in a really good position when it's time to enter the job field. Overall, I just think it's a pretty incredible field, and I can see ample reasons that it would be used in the classroom. Some references. Thank you very much.